Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. Welcome to our show today. We are going to have a great time. There is so much going on that I want to share with you all that is, I think it's going to be very helpful to creating more opportunities within your life, within your business, within your networking opportunities. And so we're planning on having a really, really fun show today. We're going to give ourselves a few minutes before everything gets started to allow people to jump into the room. And as you come into the room, if you're able to, please let us know where you're coming from, what city you're coming from, what the name of your business is. If there's something that you want us to know about what you do, go ahead and post that in the chat so people can see it and participate in the comment section. And we will definitely make sure that we acknowledge you. If there's someplace you're coming from, someplace from out of town, which right now we're right here in beautiful Centerville, Virginia, which is right outside the Washington metropolitan area, right outside the DC area. We call ourselves sort of Beltway bandits, so we're right outside the Beltway, and it's pretty nice here right now. Pretty nice environment. We're loving all of the good things that are going on in terms of the president and the administration doing a lot to make sure COVID relief is on the way and things are happening the way they need to happen for our citizens so we can get our economy back up and running. And it's just a great time. So again, if you are coming to us from anywhere, definitely put your name in the chat and let us know who you are, where you're coming from, anything about your business that you want us to know. Definitely post that information as well, because we like to make sure that we support all the small business people out there who, are looking for opportunities and can create some things. And I will follow suit and do the same right now. I'm copying my signature block here real quick and post that in the comment section. Booyah! And that's probably more than information than anybody would ever want to know or have to know about myself. Again, today we're broadcasting live on Facebook and on YouTube. And so you can pick this up live. If you are coming to us into our live studio audience, do me a favor. Please share this with people that you have communication and contact with. If that person is a business professional, whether they're a part-time business professional or a full-time business professional, they're a solopreneur, they could be a YouTube driver, not a YouTube driver, but what they call it, Lord, I forgot the name of that thing because I never take that, the driving, Uber. She could be Uber driver. Do me a favor to share it with as many people as you possibly can. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like button or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please do so. If you want to join me on LinkedIn, I think my LinkedIn information is posted there, so it's pretty easy for you to find me on LinkedIn. I'm looking forward to growing in that area as well. And if you have a favorite social media, Snapchat, whatever it is you like to do, you want to invite me to play with you, I'd be more than happy to do so. I'm looking forward to meeting and interacting with as many of you as is possible. So let's get back to the moment here. Today's show is going to be super special. We're going to be talking a lot about the show itself, some of the things that I've got going on and some events that I have coming up, as well as the topic of the day. And today's topic is, again, super special. It's really going to be all about making sure that you've done everything you can and what you need to do to follow up and follow through in all of your professional relationships. Because we find that when you do that, your professional relationships have everything they need to help you move forward, help you move your business forward, help you move your ideas forward. And we're going to share lots of discounts and opportunities for our upcoming conference that's coming up. And we're going to start all of that right after these messages. Okay, folks, here we go. This is Coffee Tea, You and Me. Every Friday for the last 20 years, I've been getting together with entrepreneurs, business leaders, sales professionals, and we usually have this program at a local coffee shop where we sit down and we can have coffee and we can really enjoy each other's company and all that kind of good stuff. But since COVID-19, since March, we've been doing this live, and we've been doing it live on YouTube and on Facebook. If you want to go back and check out any of the back episodes, you can definitely do that at any of our affiliates, and definitely do that. And we're basically recording those things. And so at some point, I'm probably going to take all the recordings offline and put them into sort of a private group. But for right now, they're all open and ready. I'm always having links and free stuff and tools that I attach to the organization, to the chats and all that kind of good stuff. So you can always go back in there. And by the way, if there's some question that you've had in the past that I haven't had a chance to answer, or for whatever reason, go ahead and throw that question in the chat today. Don't let your questions go unanswered about anything that could potentially improve your business, whether it's a marketing question or operations question, a relationship question, anything that has to do with the current economy. It doesn't matter. Ask the question. If I can't answer the question, sometimes somebody in the studio audience can answer the question. So we don't want you to feel like you're not empowered to make a difference or you don't matter. So definitely ask those questions. Keep those questions coming. I've got a couple things I want to share with you, and I want to make sure that we get that done right away, because I made the mistake last week of not even posting this, which is kind of good and kind of bad. It's good because I decided to change the date of the upcoming conference to April 24th. So, and I'm doing that because I just need a little bit more time to put some more marketing in front of this. This is what I'm putting in the chat right now is my latest Leverage Up conference, and the whole goal and reason for the Leverage Up conference is to create moments and opportunities for entrepreneurs and business leaders to come together and share opportunities. If you can see that, do me a favor and give me a thumbs up, or if you can do that in your system, or hit the number 1 in your chat so that I know that you can see the link to that conference, because I want to make sure, and I got a couple more things I want to share with you guys before we finish today. So hit number 1 in the chat box. Let me know you can see that, because I don't want there to be a whole lot of excuses. In fact, there is the link to the conference. It's in the window. So I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to know that that's coming up. And the discount for that, if you purchase your tickets, the first couple of tickets, only going to be for $49. And so if you go ahead and purchase your ticket today, you should be able to get it for $49. If you have any problems with that, maybe let me know, and I'll definitely make sure you get the links and all that kind of stuff, because I want to make sure you guys get that. People who pay attention to me, I want to make sure I do something special for them. And so it's a really great conference. It's all day. It's going to be power packed full of speakers and promotional opportunities and like thousands of dollars of gifts and prizes. I'm really good about the gifts and prizes. That's special stuff to me. By the way, if you know someone who should be participating in the conference, or someone who should be one of the speakers or one of the sponsors, do me a favor and share the link with them. Don't keep it to don't keep the secret to yourself. Go ahead and see if we can't get as many people as we can involved with that. Okay, again, like I said earlier, if you are coming to us from anywhere, just make sure you put your name in the chat. Let me know what's going on with you. And yes, Scott, I did apply for that position that you're asking about. And I think it'll be a great opportunity for me to spread my entrepreneur wings and help others do the same. So I definitely, and keep those going. I really appreciate it. So let's see, what else do I want to share with you all today? Also, today's topic, this is really, really, really sexy stuff. Today, we're talking about follow-up and follow-through, why it's important and how to do it. And I just did an update to a recent training that I'm going to share with you in the link. So you should be able to get that in the link for sure. And if for some reason it can't come through, it didn't come through the chat, I'm also going to post it right there. And this is the link for the Google Drive, and it's the latest edition of Follow Up and Follow Through, and it's got so much in here that I want to cover, but I cannot cover it within the time that we have to share with each other. And I don't want to shortcut you or anybody else. So do me a favor and download the document. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, it doesn't really matter. You should be able to download the document. And if you can download the document, go ahead and give me put a number 1 in the chat. Let me know that you're out there and it's okay. I got it. Number 1 means thumbs up. You're number 1. So go ahead and put number 1 in the chat, and I'll know that you can download that document and everything else that I'm sending to you guys. I really appreciate that. That'll be helpful to me to know what's going on, and to make sure that you can follow along as I kind of breeze through this document, because I don't want you to miss out on these opportunities. So let's talk about follow-up. First of all, why is follow-up important? If you're going to follow up with someone you meet, say at a conference or at a business networking event, or even at a social function, right? The keys to all relationships, and I'm calling this the golden key to all relationships, is really about your willingness and ability to follow up and follow through on a promise that you've made, a promise that you've agreed to keep, a promise that indicates that there's something else should happen to move this relationship forward. Follow up and follow through are key components to that. And I'm going to read this paragraph to you because I think this really sets it off and lets you know a little bit about why follow up and follow through is so important. It's a tragedy when two professionals can't figure out how to successfully coordinate working together to their mutual success. People spend amazingly large amounts of time on the perfect elevator speech. They learn to engage in brilliant small talk, but often there is no plan for what to do if someone is interested in them or their offering. They may be too new in their industry, or just ineffective at sales or relationship building, period. In the final analysis, it's all about the follow-up. If follow-up initiates projects, relationships, and initiatives, then follow through keeps things on track to sustainability. It keeps your mutual value proposition on focus and binds the relationship potential. Without the discipline to keep on pushing right through the obstacles along the way, nothing gets done. When there is no follow through in a professional relationship, not only is promise abandoned, hope is easily diminished. An unfinished business may leave permanent scars on someone's ability to carry on or even try again. The bottom line is people feel let down and just a little lost. You must follow up and follow through, because nothing is more damaging to be excited about the potential of something happening or someone engaging with you or creating opportunities for you, and then nothing happens as a result of it. I love this quote from Zig Ziglar that I'm going to share with you. And Zig says, quite eloquently, that it was character that got us out of bed, commitment that moved us into action, and discipline that enabled us to follow through. You see, Zig knew that it really doesn't matter to anyone else that you got up this morning. It really doesn't matter to anyone else that you're doing what you promised to yourself that you're going to do. What really matters is having the discipline to follow through, having the discipline required to keep engaging and keep creating and keep coming at it over and over and over and over again. That's where it matters. And it matters most with people, I'm going to say. In my studies recently, I began to understand that over 80% of all of our opportunities in life happen not because we applied for the position or we held our hand up when somebody said, we want some task to be done. Over 80% of all of our opportunities come from simply knowing the right people and having the right people know us. we can get that success rate from 80% up to 95% of opportunities that we can now know about and capitalize on when we practice the art of following up and following through. So think about this. Over 95% of opportunities that happen in life happen because someone's willing to create the right relationships, know the right people, have the right people know them, and then follow up and follow through on the relationships. What else would you do? And what I want to talk to you today is really the science and the art of how this all comes together and how it should work in your life and my life and, quite frankly, in everybody's life. In the document that I shared with you guys, there are tons of exercises that I want you to follow along with and try to do. And if those exercises somehow are difficult for you or impossible for you, do me a favor and let me know. I want to know how you're experiencing those exercises, because without those, that's the meat and the potatoes of what makes your follow-up and execution plan really, really useful and make it really, really work. And when you don't have those and you're not doing those exercises, then I find that you're left with a big gaping hole in your plan. So like always, I always talk about, whenever I talk about any of these things, the first thing you have to commit to is commit to having a plan. And I mean a detailed plan that allows you to execute magically on everything that you need to execute. All the right assumptions are in check, all the right information and the data that you need are in place. It's well written, it's well articulated, it's well thought through, and then you can have a plan. But it's hard to plan in a vacuum when it comes to follow up and follow through. And what do you think I mean by that? When people are out there and they're with you and you want to strengthen the relationship to the degree where they're willing and able to leverage opportunities with you, there's certain rules that you have to follow when it comes to creating follow-up and follow-through. So when you put your plan together, you have to be cognizant of these rules. And I call these the 8 follow-up and follow-through rules. Now, there's a reason why they're rules. They're rules because if you break them, you're going to suffer some consequences. And that you don't want to suffer these consequences, because the consequences are a lot like what I shared with you earlier. You break their follow-up and follow-through rules, people are going to feel disappointed. They're going to feel let down. They're going to feel like they were set up for failure. And they're really not going to grow in a direction that's going to be positive, especially not by your hand or because of your invention or intervention into their lives or their businesses. So let's talk about these 8 rules. And again, as I'm going through the rules, if you have any questions or any thoughts or anything you want to share in, please do so in the chat. Let's make sure we try to keep this as interactive as possible. I see my friends are out there and they're giving each other shout outs and all that kind of good stuff. It's good to see you guys. In fact, I'm going to put Mr. Suresh Kimlani on screen right now. Suresh, you got to work on your Facebook presentation. You got to put your picture up there. That's very, very important. Look at Scott. See how handsome Scott is? Yes, and he still looks like that. Absolutely, that's what he looks like today. So definitely, if you get a chance to go ahead and post your information about your business or anything in the chat, and I'll make sure that everybody knows about it. And I'll make sure I'll be more than happy to share with it. Again, if you want the document for today's presentation discussion, there it is right there up on the screen. You should be able to download that and check it out. Okay, so let's get into the 8 rules of follow up and follow through. And I don't know what I want to play from. I'm going to play from this sheet. I'm going to play from this sheet first. Okay, so I'm going to read the 8 rules off right off the bat. And then I'm going to take a deep dive into the rules, and then we're going to go through some follow-up exercises and some things that you could do to make that work for you. Hopefully everybody's on board. We can get this party started. Here we go. Rule number 1, you need to be deliberate and consistent in your communication, because when you do that, it increases your effectiveness and enhances the chances of success. Number two, you need to learn how to ask powerful leading questions. When you do this, it's going to spark interest, but it's also going to keep, I'm sorry, the conversation on track in the direction where you can keep it focused and be clear about what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it. The next thing you want to do is make sure that you keep the momentum going by following up on proposals. Always keeping people at the top of your mind as you're doing things, because relationships require attention, right? The next thing is you don't want to ever procrastinate when it comes to something that you're working on with somebody else. Just get it out of your system. If you're the kind of person who always shows up late for things or never really actually follows all the way through to the end with things, it's really difficult. That stuff is really hard on people. And you don't want to be that kind of person. You don't want to be the kind of person who it's difficult to be in a relationship with, either professional or personal. And so always, always, always be sure that when other people are involved, you follow up. The only thing you can procrastinate on is stuff that only affects you. And by the way, there are a few things that only affect you. Very much, we are all tethered and attached to one another. So you don't want to procrastinate. Next, make sure that whatever follow-up procedure or process or whatever you do matches the concern of the person that is expecting it. A lot of times people think what they're offering or what they're wanting to share with somebody is actually, it has more intensity and more value than it does. And so, while you might be pressed to share something that is inside of your purpose or inside of your direction that you want to take in your life, it doesn't mean other people are as well. And so definitely take the temperature, make sure you understand what the level of concern or urgency is with people that you want to follow up and follow through with, and then execute based on that information. All right. So do it. Don't just take for granted that somebody says, yes, they want it, and that's all there is to it. No, that is not all there is to it. Maybe there's a certain way they want it. There's a certain style or method or process that would be more exciting and interesting to them. And so make sure you understand that as well. Next, proper follow-up, always make and keep promises. We talked about that earlier. This is a key that I want you to kind of grab onto. Well, we'll talk about it later. I'm going through the list right now. Make and keep promises. The next one is follow all the way through and commit to the end. And the last one is develop a reputation for finishing well. 1, be consistent and deliberate in communication. 2, ask leading questions. 3, keep the momentum going. 4, don't avoid or procrastinate ever. 5, make sure you have proper follow-up that matches the concern of the people around you. 6, always make and keep promises. Number 7, follow through all the way and commit to the end. Number 8, develop a reputation for finishing well. Okay, so any of those things that you guys are thinking about or working through in your own self, with your own mind and your own right, do me a favor. If there's something that's going on that's super important to you, that you really want to have some deep discussion around, post that information in the chat. I'll make sure I key in on it and give you as much as I can around that topic. Other than that, I'm going to glance through these things and we're gonna see how we can grow together here. Number 1, making sure your consistent communication is perfect, right? This is important. All new ideas are you need to be open to new ideas. You need to be open to bringing new things to the table. You need to be open to new people and new ideas, and you need to find a pattern to make that a consistent reality in everything you do and say when it comes to dealing with other people. Because when you can have what I call a feedback-rich atmosphere, what happens then is people offer you bigger, better, and more consistent engagement, which means you collect data, you collect information that you can act on and respond to more consistently and regularly. And as you open that up, as you create more open opportunities for feedback, more opportunities for information flow to happen in and around you, you respond to that information, you respond to that feedback in a more deeper, powerful, meaningful way, which makes you more relevant in the spaces that you're in, with the people that you work with the people that you're concerned with, people that are around you. It is key. All of us have to do everything we can to create a feedback rich atmosphere within our communication strategy, within our communication program. If you're not doing that, then I got a feeling that you're doing a lot of talking to people or writing to people or whatever it is that you're doing to deliver messages, but you're not really receiving them well. You're not really being a person who understands other people and what they're bringing to the table. Okay, number 3. Make sure you ask leading questions. Now, I know you're going to hear a lot of people talk to you about, leading questions. You may have had some training or thought about that. Like it's not a lot of fun, in a conversation to be led in a direction. A conversation that's controlled like that doesn't often feel good for people who are just receiving the other end of those questions. But I want you to think about leading questions again in a different way. If you are well prepared and well thought through, and you know where you want to go, and you know what you're trying to influence others to do and be about, asking leading questions keeps the conversation on the right track, and it keeps the conversation from diverting to something that you might consider insignificant, unreasonable, boring, or whatever that is. And this is a critical, important part of the relationship building phase, because if anyone is bored or anyone is disinterested in the conversation, especially in the initial phases of you just met somebody and you're just trying to figure out ways to build relationships with them, in this case, what's happening is you're creating a social distance almost as soon as you begin the relationship. And that's the last thing you want to do. You want to create, again, leading conversation, questions, and communication that allows you to keep the conversation on track in a direction that you want to go in, and in fact, the direction that the person that you're speaking with also wants to go in, whether they know it or not, right? Because if you've done your homework right, you are talking to someone about something that you already know they have some level of concern, some level of interest, some level of passion, some level of connection to. Because you don't want to get into these kinds of follow-up and follow-through conversations with somebody that you have zero information about, right? You want to get into people that, these people you had time to look at their Facebook pages, look at their LinkedIn pages, look at the things that they've done in the past, look at their history, look at the things that they care about, look at the things they share with other people, what they feel is important to share, how consistently they do that kind of stuff. It's going to give you a good feel for their character, a good feel for who they are. And you can talk to other people who might know them. If you see them on social media, you might be able to see some of their friends and some associates that you have. You might be able to talk to other people and say, listen, I'm going to a networking event, or I'm going to be at a conference or an association with this person. And I want to make sure that, when I communicate with them, I want to make sure that I do a good job. Could you give me any tips? Could you make sure, because again, you want to put yourself in a situation where you're in control of the pace of the conversation and you're asking the right questions. And so much so that when the person receives the questions that you have for them, they feel like, oh my God, that's such an important question. I'm so glad you asked me. It's making me think about the things that I should be thinking about anyway. I'm so glad that you asked me. You want people to feel that way. When you don't want people to feel assaulted when you ask them a question. And so asking them a question about something that is irrelevant to them, or out of the clear blue sky that's only relevant to just you, or even if it seems that way, is it's a testament to your inability to be effective in your communication strategy. So let's just make sure that you've done your homework and you've thought through your scripts and you've really written down in your own mind, at least, what it is that you want to talk about, why you want to talk about it. And you want to slowly move the relationship in the next direction so that you have something to follow up and follow through with. So back to what Stephen Covey taught us. He taught us, right, to begin with the end in mind. You met a person, you already know this person can be of serious influence in your life or in your business. You already done your homework on this person. Now it's time to create something that can drive the relationship even further and deeper. You want to be able to make a promise. You want to be able to do something that you can follow up and follow through with. So go ahead and pre-plan 3 or 4 things that you could do with this person that they may be excited or interested in, that you can then commit to following up and following through with. And they could be anything. They could be, I'm going to send you a draft of an article that I just read, or a piece of information that I see through our conversation that you might find meaningful, or whatever. I remember a conversation that I had with Suresh, and now he's online. I'm gonna go ahead and use him here. A conversation I had with Suresh a couple years back, and we were talking about health concerns and some of the things. And Suresh was telling me about some natural herbs and spices that you might want to use to deal with inflammation, and I think it was turmeric or something like that. And I had never thought that that might be something that might be useful to you health-wise. So Suresh said, you know what, I'll do you one favor. He figured out some videos that he could share with me. He shared those videos with me that helped me understand how I could use those things. And of course, how do I feel about Suresh? I never feel bad about Suresh. I feel great about Suresh because Suresh listened to me, right? Found something that he knew something about that I might be interested in. And then he shared his experience and some of the things that with me. That's what a friend does for you. That's what a person who cares about you does. That's the kind of inspiration and attitude they have when they deal with you. They listen to you. Now, if Suresh asks me for something, he's put enough in the emotional bank account for me that I'm probably going to say yes. And he probably knows exactly what to ask me for that I'm going to say yes to, because, the time we've spent following up and following through with each other, is very, very important. And when you do that well, what tends to happen is people give you the benefit of the doubt. What tends to happen is things that you want to see happen or come through with really happen more often than you would expect, because it follows the natural momentum of human relationships. Speaking of momentum, number 3 is when you follow up on something that you committed to, is understanding that you really keep the momentum of the relationship moving forward, and you keep the person that you're following up with top of mind. This is good for 2 things, because we're all overwhelmed with stuff, initiatives, people, disturbances, distractions, things coming in our universe and trying to take space in our brain, right? But if you've made a commitment to do something for somebody and you're focusing on honoring that commitment, then the other things that are jumping at you have very, very, very little importance, because your focus is to secure what you need to secure for this new relationship, or for this opportunity to this relationship to grow and become something that maybe you can leverage later on. And so you want to make sure that you honor those commitments and you keep that person on top of mind. Now, if you make a promise to somebody and you summarily forget them, and you forget to honor and do what you said you're going to do for whatever reason, and I'm sure people have made promises to you in your life that you haven't kept, or they haven't kept, right? And how did that feel? Did you feel great about them? Did you feel great about having the expectation that they were going to do something that they didn't do? Maybe they want to keep an appointment with you. Maybe they were going to send you something, or maybe they were going to, they said they follow up and call you or whatever that is, and then it just never happened. The kids today, the young people today would say they ghosted you, and then even when you follow up to try to connect with them, they made it difficult, right? Because now they got their filters up, they're embarrassed, and they don't want to talk to you because they don't want to admit that they let you down, and they don't want to take responsibility for that. You can avoid all that stuff by making sure that you actually follow up on the proposals that you make. You follow up on the promises that you have. You keep the persons that you're talking to at the top of mind, allowing them to keep you at top of mind, right? And get that momentum going where you're making promises to each other, you're keeping promises with each other, you're making promises with each other, you're keeping promises with each other, and you consistently do it over and over and over and over again. The more you promise, the more you have promised. The more you have promised, the more people make promises. And it's over and over and over again. We talked about promises last week. So it's very, very important that you make and keep promises. Number 4. Now, in case you didn't understand what I meant by this, when I said don't procrastinate ever, I mean don't procrastinate ever, especially when it comes to relationships. Because people, they already have an expectation of you and biases of you based on whatever preconceived notions they have of people who look like you, talk like you, they have in the past, right? So that's already a script that people are, their brain it has it, whether they wanted it there or not, it's there. So they're hardwired to have an expectation of you that's either good or bad. It doesn't matter. But what happens when you procrastinate and their expectation is already negative, or their bias is already negative, when you procrastinate, you basically reinforce that negative assumption, stereotype, bias that they may have about you. So if they already have a bias because you have your hair parted to the left versus to the right, or they have a bias because you have blue eyes versus brown eyes, or they have a bias based on how your smile comes together or doesn't come together, whatever that is, if you procrastinate, if it's a negative bias and you procrastinate, then you reinforce it. If it's a positive bias and you procrastinate, then you ruin and damage the expectation. And so to make yourself, very, 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 procrastination proof, right? Make your promise, say what you're going to deliver, when you're going to deliver it, how you're going to deliver it, what you expect when you deliver it. Make sure that person wants it, all right? Ask for permission to deliver it in those ways, and then execute. Execute flawlessly. Don't overpromise, don't underpromise. Promise, set the expectation, meet the expectation, don't procrastinate. If you can do this, you're going to build a hell of a reputation, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Number 5, this one's critically important. Whatever you're doing with people when you're talking about follow-up and follow-through, you must match the rhythm and the pace of their concern. You must match the urgency that they have. And I'll tell you how this gets screwed up a lot. Let me tell you how. And this is the way that some of you all might be familiar with. If you're looking for a job, if you're desperate for a job, if you haven't been working in 6 months to a year, and you're looking for a job, and you find all these online applications and all these processes and procedures you can jump through and all that kind of stuff you can do, and you realize that is a way to get it done, and you can track it a little bit, and you can do something about it. So you just start putting applications out. Now, this effort is a serious effort for you, because you're applying and you're changing your resume when you need to adjust it, and you're changing your cover letters when you need to adjust it for the situation and the presentation that you're trying to have. You're doing company research and all that kind of stuff. It is an urgent matter for you because you want the job. On the flip side, the employer, who most likely is outsourced this whole application collation dissemination process to a third party, doesn't really care about you personally. They have a data set that they're trying to get as many applications as they possibly can to go through the data filtering process so they can whittle it down to what they think might be the best couple of potential candidates, and those people are going to get the interview. So you are a person who's interested, excited, and directly involved with this process, against a machine that has no interest, that has no excitement, that has no, nobody cares about how many times you've submitted execute on your resume and how many times the machine doesn't care. It's just data sets. It's combing through your information and make sure you hit the right keywords and you said the right things, and so they can move you along to the point where you get to defend yourself, so to speak, in some type of interview process or whatever that is, and they want to fill you out. All along the way, this process is looking for people who are disasters. Looking for people who may not be a good fit in the company for whatever reason it is, and it's usually a bias towards a certain thing. Like, company will say, I want somebody who's high energy and or somebody who can do XYZ. But what they really want is someone who's high energy, deeply engaged, who can do XYZ. The skills are only part of what they really want. They really want a certain character that also has a certain skill. But they can't really measure for character outside of asking some very, very carefully worded legal questions. But they can look at and interpret how you answer those questions and get a sneaky peek into what your character is. So they can tell based on how you answer certain questions that you might be on the spectrum. And what I mean by that is you might be autistic, which means almost all the time, unless they partner you with someone who's really patient and really amazing, you're going to be a wrecking ball in a team meeting. And again, it's just because people will not understand your gestures. They will not understand what it is you're saying when you're saying it. And if they say if they ask you to explain it to you, explain it in a different way, you're going to probably say something to the effect of, that was the perfect way to explain it. There is no smarter way to explain it, and I'm a genius. Everybody knows that. So why would you ask me to explain it in a different way? Is it something wrong with you? And that's not the answer that's really going to engender you to being a good team person, and it's not like you can help it, because that's how you process information. So you have to think about that. How you answer questions is going to suggest your culture. It's going to suggest your mental processes. It's going to suggest your sexual orientation. It's going to suggest a lot. And you might not know this when you're just answering some basic questions on a computer screen. It has nothing to do with price of tea in China, but understand, you have to figure out ways so you can get the chance to follow up and follow through. And when it comes to making sure that the follow-up that whatever you do matches the concerns of the people or systems, that it matters. Because if you don't match that correctly, you're gonna have a disconnect right off the bat. If you're trying to make somebody a commitment and promise to do something they could care less about, you're going to be disappointed, because they're never going to care about it. If you haven't checked the temperature, again, if you haven't checked to see if this is something they really want, if they really want it, then they should be able to tell you why they want it and what they'll be able to do as a result of it, what they might be able to understand or know. They'll be able to articulate for you why it's relevant to them. And you should ask the question, okay, I promised you to get this. And a lot of people have done this and really changed their lives because they've been able to experience blah, 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 blah. So let me know, are you that one person? Are you the kind of person who likes to read stuff, or a person who likes to really, really get involved with some new things or try new things? Are you like an adventurous person, or are you just going to take this and put it on the shelf with a whole bunch of great ideas that you're never going to execute? How's that work for you? Ask the question. Now, you might get a couple chuckles and people go, you know what? You're right. I sometimes I do procrastinate, but this one, because it's you, because you care so much about it, I'll make sure I pay attention to it. I'll make sure I do whatever I do. And now you can hold them accountable. And now you can follow up. And now you can follow through. It's like, okay, I'm going to send this to you. I'm going to do this for you. In about 3 days, I'm going to check on you and see how it went. Would that be okay? And then you schedule an appointment. But again, This is masterful follow-up, follow-through opportunities from a conversation. You have to plan this process all the way through. Don't shoot from the hip. Don't wing it. Think about what you can commit to, what you really have to offer, and make sure that you offer it in a way that other people want it and receive it, and then get the process started of making the commitment, making the follow-up and follow-through, and making it happen. We talked about keeping promises, how important that is already. Let's get into commitment all the way through. I can't stress to you how important it is that when you say you're going to do something, you actually do it. Now, here's a problem. Sometimes people speak out of the authority that they have. What do I mean by that? You cannot make a commitment to something that you do not have complete and total ownership rights to. If you do, you may find yourself in a situation where you are damaging a relationship. I've done that several times in my life. I've made commitments on behalf of my organization that didn't involve my partner or my friend or my associate, and they believed that it should have been involved. They should have been involved in it. And I believe that it was kind of really not that big of a deal. Didn't need to have their involvement. And I could be trusted, to make this commitment for us. I realizing that, I was making a commitment for us. And of course, there were errors and mistakes made. And I have to own up to my part of the responsibility of not being sure that the commitment that I literally got us into wasn't as good for my business associate as I imagined that it might be. Because I took a communication shortcut. When I'm telling you, don't do that. Don't commit something that you don't completely have the power and authority to own, and don't commit something that's going to affect other people and they haven't given you permission to do that. And what do I mean by that? Most of us who are entrepreneurs and business leaders are connected to families and friends. And yes, it's true. It's our business. But they are stakeholders. They are beneficiaries. Often they rescue us in times of need and stress. And they would like to be brought in, read in on the commitments that we make, even if we don't intend to do anything. Their feedback at least gives us an idea of whether they will support our decision or not. And it's always good to deal with information from a truthful perspective. So you know exactly what is and what is not. I can't imagine never keeping a promise, but I also can't imagine making promises and always being wrong with those promises, right? So make sure you commit all the way through when you do commit, and understand that you're never really at this thing by yourself. So you might want to, before you make any commitments, make sure they're all set up and ready to go. And the partners that you have understand that you're making a commitment here, but this commitment is an investment in a relationship that should lead you into a better position, a better you in the future. And so that's the value. That's an indication that this commitment, that this time you're willing to spend, this investment you're willing to spend, this space you're willing to spend makes sense. Hope that makes sense to you guys. Number 7, we did it already. Number 8 is about finishing well. Obviously, you don't want to take relationships and make them an administrative exercise, a check in the box type of exercise. And so when you're following up and following through with the intention of solidifying or growing a relationship, you want to make sure you do a great job with whatever it is that you committed to do with that person. Unfortunately, though, unless they are really, really good at showing respect, affection, and praise for your efforts to you and maybe even to others, you really are guessing when you think you've done a good job of following up and following through with someone, because they haven't given you any indication, any information that will let you know they're excited about what you've done or interested or even care about what it is that you've done. And so I try to make it a practice as a habit, and I suggest you do the same. If someone does something for you and their intention, which is what you understand, is to help you move yourself forward, and you can see that clearly, then you owe them more than a thank you. A thank you is customary. A thank you is expected. A thank you is a normal way to accept the grace, the gift, the love that someone else will give you. It's the minimum expectation. But if you really, really, really want to encourage a stronger, more meaningful relationship with this person, you give them a little bit of what I call the RAP approach. Now, RAP is a program, a strategy, trademark process that I created to help people encourage one another in the moment, whenever the moment arrives. And so somebody might do something for you, and you have a high level of respect for them or what they did. You need to make sure that you use the RAP approach. So RAP is an acronym, stands for respect, affection, and praise. So you may say something to the fact that, you know what, Scott, I love that you think about me when you're scouring the network and you're seeing job opportunities and things like that that you know are in my wheelhouse and things that you know that I'd be excited about applying for. I really, really appreciate the effort. And I really, really appreciate you taking the time. And I know it may seem easy, you know, you're already looking, you're already there, and it's just, you're just kind of sharing what you see. But just knowing that you're out there, man, and you're thinking about me means a lot to me. And it makes all the difference in the world. You know, I look at my email box and all I got sometimes from you is, here's another job opportunity. And I know that somebody's out there thinking about me. And it doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't happen regularly, but it happens when my friend Scott does that. That's the RAP approach. Respect, affection, and praise. If you can do it publicly, yes, all the more. But don't wait for the public opportunity. Do it immediately. I don't do it via email, do it via text message, do it via whatever social media platform you got going on. But definitely do it. Definitely show the love that people are showing to you. And make sure that they understand how you feel about them and their willingness to spend time, talent, and treasure using their resources for your benefit. Even if you think it's a small thing, make it a bigger thing, because they did it for you. And if you want them to do it again, you need to be not just say thankful, but be grateful. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Be grateful. I got a guest coming on a little later. Her name is Jennifer, and she's going to be talking about having an attitude of gratitude in everything that you do and why that's important to your success and your happiness. And I just shared with you a couple tips on that. So really quickly, I'm going to run you guys through some exercises that you can do to help with your follow-up and follow-through processes. You might want to pre-plan your follow-up activities, right? Automatically write out, some letters or some emails that you're going to want to send that would indicate that you've got into a certain conversations about a certain thing. And so therefore, really appreciate the conversation. You really love the person who gave you who spent the time with you. You really care about what they did and what they said, and you want to do the next thing with them, right? So have some pre-planned, pre-thought out things ready to go. You can hit the send button as soon as you get back or as soon as you get in the car or whatever that is. Don't do it while you're in the event. I've seen that happen, and I really feel like it's tacky. I've actually seen people scanning business cards into their phone system or into their email system while they're sitting in a networking event. They just basically turned a personal opportunity into a mass market opportunity, and it was horrible. Don't be that guy. I know you might be an introvert, so if you are and you've had enough of the social engagement, leave the party. Leave the event. Don't sit around and skulk in the corner or find some activity to do all by yourself because you look like a person who's not really engaged and doesn't really want to be there. And it's very hard for people who want to follow. They're like, what's wrong with that person? I don't want to follow up with this person. I hope they don't call me. I hope they don't email me. I hope they don't want to talk to me again because they don't look like a person who's interested in me. And I'm not interested. I'm certainly not interested in them, right? So have that plan already ready to go. Create 3 to 5 leading questions that you're going to get into most of the time in most conversations for different categories. What I mean by that is leading conversations for potential customers, leading conversations for potential referral sources, leading conversation for people who you just want to potentially add to your network. You need to have those basic 3, maybe more, depending on the different target markets you have for different products and services that you can offer. You want to have set up 3 to 5 leading questions that will move the conversation in the area that you think it's going to go, right? Or it should go where you might want it to go. You want to influence it in that direction, right? Next, create separate email distribution lists for people in your life that have different automatic triggers and thoughts and ideas and concepts. Think about it like a decision tree. And this is something that you might want to use even if you're doing like an automated text system within Facebook or some other online platform where you can do automatic text. If a person asks a question and some keywords show up in the question, then you have to lead them toward another question and another conversation, another idea, another topic. And you can automate all that, but you've got to really think it through. What would a person say who's interested in blah, blah, blah? What would they want to see or do next? Okay, boom, do that. Okay, and then what would they want to see or do? Boom, boom, boom. And then how do you get them so think about it as a decision tree, a decision matrix, and how you get them in that decision and all the way through to the bottom, which is a deeper, more meaningful commitment and connection with you, right? Schedule time for all follow-up meetings and engagements, always. If you have a friend to associate with and you don't have an active relationship with, you don't have an active time where you're going to see or talk or communicate with them in some way, shape, or form in the future, you are no longer in relationship. You may have had a relationship, but what you had. What you have now is an inactive, dormant relationship. You want an active, engaging relationship that moves things forward. And if you don't have an appointment, if you don't have time to speak with them, you don't have some time when you're going to interact with them in your schedule already, you're missing an opportunity. I used to watch Phil Donahue every day when it came on. I guess I was in college or something, and I was watching it every day. I got to watch Phil Donahue. I had a relationship with Phil Donahue, and when I stopped watching Phil Donahue, there went the relationship. I didn't even know when the show was canceled. I didn't even know when it didn't come on anymore. And I felt the loss, really, because, I guess I had a course or something in one semester that replaced the time I was mostly watching Phil Donahue, so I couldn't go. And back in those days, we didn't really have a whole bunch of good recording devices and things like that we could use. So, I missed out. I couldn't keep my relationship going with Phil Donahue. And yes, I realize he's a TV personality, but we had something going. Same thing with Oprah. We had something going. So think about that. Who are you actively engaged in? What relationships do you? What do you spend your time with? And are you spending time with people who can move the needle forward for you at some point in the future, or are you just wasting time with people who, you're kibitzing with and you're having fun, and that's great for social, but that's not great for growth. And you need both. You need social and growth. And if you can get them in the same place, now you're being effective and efficient, right? Other thing you want to do, this is one of my favorite exercise, is draw up a top 10 list. Do your research in your industry, in your organization, or whatever you belong to. Figure out where the growth patterns are, what the trends are. Figure out who's already on deck and moving things forward. Figure out who's going to be, and build those relationships. Those are going to be the people who you're going to be able to depend on later on for whatever. It might be you need some advice. It might be you need some funding. It might be you need some expertise, or you need somebody to share with you what they know about certain things. Again, all that matters and comes easily when you have relationships. When you don't have relationships, it's always difficult. It's always hard. And it's very, you're going to get a lot of rejection. But my friends don't tend to reject me because I know exactly what I can ask my friends for and what I can't. And I do ask my friends for things that are going to be empowering to me and by extension, empowering to them. Because when you ask people to do for you what they love doing anyway, it's very, very, you get the kind of results you get are amazing. Just put it that way. It's just amazing. By the way, Scott, I got a friend who might be looking for some good cost engineering on a lot of projects. So hit me up with an email when you get a chance. I'll introduce you to him. All right. And other than that, I'm going to take any questions that you guys may have about follow up and follow through. If you have any questions at all, feel free to just let them fly, and I will add them to the chat. If you want to come to the virtual conference on the 24th, I'm going to paste that again. I think you can get a ticket still. Let me see if I can post that in the chat. If you have any questions about the conference, feel free to load them up. Let me know what's going on here. There it is. Bye. There it is. And did I put my LinkedIn profile? I think I did that today. Let me put my LinkedIn profile in here. If anybody who needs to connect with me on LinkedIn or hasn't connected with me on LinkedIn, in fact, I would really appreciate if you have connected with me on LinkedIn and you've been enjoying yourself at Coffee Tea, you and me, go ahead and give me a new recommendation on LinkedIn. And if you really want to do that and you don't know how to, but you want to help me out, doesn't really take much. All you got to do is go to my profile, look for the section that says recommend Coach Powell or recommend Marvin, and type whatever you want to type. Go for it. Say whatever you want to say. And if I like the recommendation, I look at it, then I will post it and I will re-recommend you. Oh, look at Wilma. I see you out there. The boss is in the house. Wilma is one of the best health insurance agents that you're ever going to get a chance to meet. In fact, let me put her out here. Wilma, if you will post something that allows people to connect with you. So if you want to post your email address or your phone number or anything about your business that you want to share, go ahead and do that. And I'll put it up on screen so other people can see it. And I'll make sure that they know who you are and how to contact you, because by the way, this is going to be recorded. So then you can share this recording with whoever you want to share it with, and people will know how wonderful and talented that you are. Yeah, did that already. Way to go, Wilma. Let me see. Did I already replace? I want to make sure I post again the document we were working with in case some people came a little late to the party. This is the follow-up and follow-through document that I just updated, and no one has this except you guys. This is basically exclusive content. Next week, we're going to have some more exclusive content. You definitely want to get here on time or early if possible next week. But there's some really good stuff going on. And this is, if you guys need to talk to or find somebody who can help you with the health insurance, you definitely want to follow up my girl, Wilma. She's super amazing, super talented. She's from USA, hadvisors.com. You can find her at 571-241-0235, and she's right here in good old Virginia. All right. So, guys, I had a great time, a great conversation today. I had a lot of fun. Again, if you haven't already, please join us on YouTube. If you can, like us on Facebook. Make sure people understand how to get to this program. Share this with them. The link for this particular live program will be up in a few minutes after I close down the broadcast. So I would really love it if you would share with your friends, family, whoever you think might be useful and might really think it's useful for them in their business. We try to open this up for as many small businesses as possible. You know, I imagine having thousands and thousands of people on this at some point, but I need you to help me. I need you to help me get the word out. So let's not be shy, and I won't be about you. How about that? God bless you. Have a great one. And we are closing down the broadcast. It's about an hour and 5 minutes. Not too bad.